Michelle Kirkby here.
Tim Knight here. Liam Brown here.
Will Horn here.
Diana Frischella here.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open public input. Members of the public are welcome to comment during the public input either here or through Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand. We ask that you keep your camera on when making a Zoom comment and that you follow school committee policy for public input, including speaking for no more than 3 minutes and only on topics under the purview of the school committee. And whether you're here in person or on Zoom, please state your name and address for the record. I don't see anyone here. Is there anyone online?
There's only one person online unless that's changed. Yeah, so nobody online is raising their hand.
Okay. Close public input. Next up is the consent agenda. Let's see, we have the approval and retention of executive session minutes from December 12th, 2024. Approval of regular meeting minutes from December 12th, 2024. Approve the release of funds from the Madeline Grant Scholarship in the amount of $3,000 each for Medfield High School's 2024 graduates Mary Palladino and Matthew DiGregorio. Overnight trip final approval, MHS Jazz Choir 2024 New England Voices a cappella competition at Plymouth North High School, January 24th, January 25th, 2025. Donations in the amount of $2,134 from South Shore Studios to be deposited to the Memorial Gift Account, $2,093 from South Shore Studios to be deposited to the Wheelock Gift Account, $2,254 from the Interstate Studios to be deposited to the Dale Street Gift Account, $1,164 from the Dale Street PTO to be deposited to the Dale Street Gift Account for the 6 new robot kits, $2,000 from the boys soccer program to be deposited to the Score Table Gift Account, donations for the Medfield High School therapy dog to be deposited to the MHS Gift Account, $2,000 from MHS PTO, $5,000 from MHS National Honor Society, $1,080 from the MHS Library Fund. Do we have any edits or corrections or anything that we want to move before we vote? Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated?
So moved, Tim.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, next up, we'll be moving into new business. I'll turn it over to Dr. Martin for the chef coaching program presentation.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So we have Katie Fagan here tonight, who's our Director of Food Service, and she had written a grant for having a chef coaching through the remind me what institute it is?
John Stocker.
Thank you, John Stocker Institute, and that's something that I know she has taken a lot of classes and coursework with. We see some great success with it, and she's here to present not only that, but also tell you a little bit about food service and some of the great work she's been doing. So, okay.
Do you want me to speak into this or? Hello? That works. Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, you can come up too if you'd like. Excuse me. Yeah, so like Dr. Marsden said, I am Katie Fahey, the food service director. This is Chef John White with the John Stocker Institute of Food and Nutrition. They are based out of the Framingham State University, and they do a lot of work with schools and food service departments. And so we will talk to you a little bit about the chef coaching program. But before we do so, I'll give you a brief overview of the food service department. So we are funded with federal and state funds. We receive $4.57 per lunch we serve and $2.37 per breakfast. The federal dollars cover the free and reduced portion of the meals that we serve, and the state makes up the remaining amount there. So they are responsible for reimbursing us for all students that would not normally qualify for free and reduced meals. Although now meals are free for all students. If you might be familiar with that already, they were the 8th state to make this permanent. So students no longer have to pay for lunch or breakfast. Since 2022, so yeah, 3rd school year. Yeah. So meal participation, of course, has really increased since it became free meals in 2022, as you can see. And the numbers on the left show the current participation rates by school for breakfast and lunch. So of course, a lot has to do with the free school meals, but we have done a lot of work to improve the quality of the food that we're serving to the kids, like bringing in people like Chef John, and just doing a lot of culinary training with the staff. We do a high school focus group where the kids give us feedback about the meals, and we try to make as many of those changes as possible. So in terms of sustainability, that's always a thought for us. We began composting the kitchen waste at all 5 schools, and we estimate that this saves about 175 gallons of food waste from going into the landfill. And additionally, we use reusable trays at the middle school and the high school, and soon they will be using reusable trays at Wheelock. For the schools that can't use reusable trays, they use fiber trays that are compostable. So looking forward, these are kind of the goals that we are working towards. We want to expand our composting program to the students so they can compost whatever food waste they have at lunchtime. And I'm working with the Medfield Transfer Station and Recycling Committee on that so they can help support us in implementing that program hopefully by next school year. And this screenshot shows our capital plan for equipment replacement. So when you have over 3 months of revenue in your account, of expenditures in your account, the state wants you to have a plan on how you're going to spend down that money. So this is our plan to make some much needed equipment replacements over the next 5 years, which ends up being about $100,000 a year in equipment. And then we also are hoping to maybe add a chef position to the department after having Chef John here. It's been a really invaluable person to have in our department with that culinary expertise to really improve the food that we have been serving, including increasing the scratch cooking that we do and really decreasing the amount of prepackaged foods that we serve. And then with that, I will have Chef John talk a little bit about the chef coaching program with JSI and what he's done here for us in Medfield.
Thank you. Hi, how's everybody doing? I guess that's fine. So the John Stalker Institute, we're really pushing the whole concept of getting that scratch cooking more embedded into the school nutrition programs and the school programs. It's actually been a joy working here with such a director who's so pro into it. She's actually been very hands-on the whole time, so that's been quite magnificent, to be honest. And we don't always get that kind of reciprocation, and it's been really, really easy to work these kind of gains into the picture. Oh wow, Chatham Tatum. Sorry. The specific goals that we were trying for we were trying to build in, sorry.
Just so you have the,
Oh, thank you.
since you can't see them.
The big things we were trying to build up here, we discussed beforehand, the STAR goals, we call them, were to really take the food program and start working on improving kitchen staff's efficiencies and trying to bring in a lot more, not restaurant concept, but restaurant flow, trying to work in a lot more technique-oriented attack on how to prepare foods and how to make it more practical and a lot less heat and eat. Along with that, we got a lot of feedback from the students to try and encourage a more authentic cuisine and authentic, diverse cuisines. So we really brought in 4, 5, 6 different menu items, or took some existing menu items and made them a lot more authentic to regional cuisines. So we worked in some natural flavoring, some more exotic spices, really brought out a lot of those kind of fun, jazzy things that you would usually try and go to a restaurant once a week, twice a week to try and get, because now a lot of the common students, they go out a lot more frequently than what we may have when we were younger. So you're seeing a lot of that reciprocation on both ends. They're giving great feedback, and we're working to improve that. Along with that, we were trying to get the scratch cooking as much as you can. You can always find a heat and eat option. That's literally what food programs have been designed on. But we've been working on getting that really wonderful grant money towards whole ground beef, fresh from down the road kind of thing. The lettuces, beautiful bib lettuces coming in, working those into the menu as much as possible and really kind of achieving that throughout the program. The training becomes a big thing too, because no matter what, when you've worked in a program like this for as long as some of these employees have, you not only got an influx of students that almost doubled or tripled compared to what you were doing, but you also are going from heat and eat to these new products coming in. And a lot of it just comes down to showing them how to work with a 10-pound monster pack of ground beef rather than what they would at home where it's 1 pound at a time, and doing that on the right equipment for the right job. Rather than doing multiple batches, let's do a big batch, and it's still achievable and still quality. It's just doing it in the right way. So using the right tools. Again, the equipment that you guys have is good, but we're working to upgrade that. That's what her big drive is, and some of the plans are quite wonderful to work towards efficiencies. I guess outside of that, the equipment recommendations, it's kind of hard to do when she's already ahead of the game, because she's already got a game plan, and I just kind of okayed in my mind because she's already got the tilt skillet. That would have been my first thought and things like that. So it's been really good to just kind of streamline her thoughts and back up the thoughts that she had already ahead of time. So it's been pretty good with that. Outside of that, no, it's okay. It's going to sleep. It's all right. Shrinking. You're good. But the big thing is the cultural diverse meals. We'll sum it up quick. Is just we did the chicken shawarma was a big one. That was a hit with the kids. We actually worked in some fresh tzatziki, some working the onion and sumacs. If you've ever had an onion sumac salad and parsley, it's literally chopped up fresh and massaged. Working those kind of things in. The kitchen manager Becky is. She's Lebanese, and she brought her heart and soul into that meal. And she did that with probably 6 or 7. We did the kefta, we did the shawarma, and then we did the pulled pork cubanos. We actually did that in a very authentic way, put the pickles, put the mustard, and aside from a few reviews saying they don't like mustard, sorry to say it, that's a Cuban. But we worked through all those processes and really kind of made it a much more efficient way for them to be executed and not hot-boxed. We didn't want them to sit in a hot box and stay there for 2-3 hours, which sometimes is a practical necessity. And we got it really quite efficient to a heat and sell, because that was one big request that we had discussed in the first place. Along with that, we also did the Thai chicken meatballs, which the Thai chili chicken bowls. Those were fun. And we served it, and now we have a whole different repertoire of how we're going to do it, because you can take that and expand into 3 or 4 different cuisines with a very similar concept, but just changing up your flavors. So that's kind of the approach. We opened the book for her staff to be able to really manipulate and play. Chicken tikka masala, that was probably one of the most popular ones, and that's huge because everybody loves chicken tikka masala if you eat Indian. So it's kind of a win, and we could take that and do chicken vindaloo very easily, or any of these, or beef kofta, or beef shawarma. You can go a whole lot of different directions when you have these kind of meals. So it's a good opening door for the staff to take over, especially with the chef position. So opening up, they'd be able to come in and amplify that, which is really awesome. Outside of that, you see some pretty plates, you see some pretty platters. The execution is going up and up all the time, and to be able to tell one of the staff to say, hey, how about you make that a pretty plate and set up a sample, and they get to play and create that, that's actually really gratifying to see, because they're taking what they put on a plate and sell real quick and actually saying, oh, let's make this a little prettier, and they're realizing how easy that is to make those steps. So it's been a really self-gratifying and really impressive process to actually work with this district. So otherwise, hey, student feedback's been good. Otherwise than that, that's all I've got.
Yeah, so that's just what some of the kids said after, serving them some of these new meals. They really like them. And then some of the students that are bringing their lunch from home, we did ask, how can we make you get lunch at school? Like, what would you want to see on the menu? And of course, we're seeing a lot of, picky eaters that want chicken nuggets and hamburgers all the time. So I think that's why it's important to have a chef who can do taste testing and encourage those kids to kind of try new things.
And if you ever want to get a funny look, sit down at a lunch table with a student. Because I did it probably 5 times a day. I'd go up and just talk to a big group of tables, and they were not ready for that. It was good feedback. After the first 2 times, they really kind of opened up, and then they'd be like, I'm going to give you my review. And they were very good about that. They kind of really opened up to it and got more a part of it, which was really nice to see, too.
Can you talk a little about this taste testing? So before you put something on the menu for the whatever month it is, you make a small batch of it first, let the kids try it and get feedback before you put it on there?
Yeah, whenever possible, we try to do that. But like I said, having like a chef on staff to help us do that really would be key in doing the taste test more. Sometimes we just make it in the kitchen first and then make it in a big batch and then get the feedback from the kids, and then next time make changes from there.
Even on the days that we were putting new things that hadn't been priorly tested, I was doing little samplers to just try and get out there, because it is a herd. It is a very herd mentality, if you've ever seen it. And they come into the room and they bolt to the line that they go to every day, and they do not open their eyes. So I stood right in front of the pizza door, at the pizza and hot food door, and I would have a big platter. And some might call it heckling, some might call it encouragement. I don't know what you would call it, but I would continuously say, hey, if you don't like it, just tell me why. You can throw it out 2 feet away. I have a trash can right here. Please just try it. Say yes or no, see what's up. And you'd be shocked how many kids would change lines. And or the next time they would be open to it. Because we did run a couple of the menus several times while I've been here. And it was actually really nice to see those faces popping up in the other line for it.
Any other questions?
John, what did you think of how at the end of lunch, you just clap the hands, the kids get up and go and leave? Only school I've ever seen that happen.
Wild.
It's wild.
Truly wild.
Wild.
I have never been in a class,
So most schools,
lunchroom.
the bell will ring and kids, they gotta, come on, we gotta go. Here, you just clap twice, they all get up and they leave. It's just amazing.
It was militant.
Yeah.
It was very boggling to
Yeah,
see
it's
happen.
really something. It's just the way it's always been made, right? I mean, it's just what kids do, and a couple of
there's
claps, they get up, lunch is over, and they're gone.
It's a practicality, but it was impressive.
It is.
Funny. I had a question on the breakfast slide. Blake specifically looked a lot lower than everybody else. So why is Blake at 7% for breakfast?
Each school kind of has their own way that they want to serve breakfast. So Blake serve breakfast only before school. Other schools have so unless the kids are getting it before school starts, they don't really have that opportunity to get breakfast. I'm sure, like, you know, if a kid really needed something to eat, the teachers have it on. But that's why the percentage is so much lower.
Yeah, because if your bus is one of the last buses to get there, you don't have the opportunity. But if you're one of the first buses, you do have the time, or if you get dropped off. So it is different.
So like at the high school, they have the 10-minute break. So that's their percentage is really high because all the kids come and they get breakfast at that time.
And then the composting, incorporating with the students. I guess the way you described it, I was picturing it kind of like when you go to Whole Foods and there's like the different bins when you're trying to leave. Like,
That's our thought process.
okay.
We're hoping like to implement that in the future. I'm actually going to go over to Sherburne tomorrow. They do it already at the middle school, so we'll go observe and see how it works over there, and then hopefully get like something similar to do here.
It's actually a really difficult thing to instill without a preset system. I've seen it attempted at several schools and districts, and it's one of those, the students need to be on board, or you need to take out variables.
Yeah.
Every variable potential, like a piece of, like a silverware, a plastic fork, pretty much ruins that compost concept right there immediately, the minute it's in there. So it's a matter of using certain silverware. You can get biodegradable forks and knives, things like that, but it's just a system that's working. To see that flowing, I actually want to see that.
Yeah.
I do think it would be amazing, though, to add to what you're already
Huge.
doing from
Yeah.
a compost standpoint, because it does. Right.
Because I know the compost company that we use now, we use Black Earth, and they are very strict. If they see anything that's not compostable in there, they won't take it.
Yeah.
And I know the janitors certainly don't want to live digging through compost.
Yes.
Kiddie pool.
Like, I'm just trying to understand it too. So it was like 12 visits to try to achieve the goals. So was it, are we looking at it like, might be more a question for you, is that this is a pilot to see what life might look like if you do have, like one of the bullets was add in chef position to the department? Is that how? I mean,
And that gets paid out of the revolving account for food service. So I think that's something that Katie is definitely pushing for, wants to make sure that we can kind of continue the great stuff we've done with John, and we can do that going forward, so that continue to have a chef on staff and work with them.
and how soon?
What were you thinking, Katie?
Maybe the beginning of next year.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think just looking at this is fantastic. Like, I think, like, you're starting to hear more and more of, like, now we have the mobile technology task force, but we're starting to think about foods and what's the impact that has, and all this processed food.
Right.
I love to see, we're forward thinking, and I think what you're saying is in some ways we have the funding, or I get confused, and maybe it's a question for Michael. I look at the.
No, we've got the funding.
We have the funding, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We gotta just find better ways to use it, and this is a phenomenal way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, equipment's definitely one way we have to use it. There's no doubt about that, because we have a lot of old equipment. But I think Katie's plan is great, that we can just stagger that in X amount of years and upgrade what we're doing. Will allow us to do some of this scratch cooking that we're talking about, or expand more. We're doing it now, but expand it more.
There's so many places you can go. I mean, getting the students involved in it too, seems like it would be really, really cool. It's awesome.
Yeah, I will say too, I like that you sample at Memorial, like things like kale. You know what I mean? Like, I do think that's really great that you have the samples of things that you know that they're gonna, theoretically turn their nose up at. So.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very enticing.
I think that's very cool that you're starting
Yeah,
that
with
young.
a sticker.
Right? You guys have anything else? Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come in for one of these meals.
Okay, so as I stated earlier, I'm gonna need to step out at 7, so we are gonna do the agenda out of order. So we're gonna move evaluation up next. So, let's see. Also, if anyone wants to meet with Dr. Marsden on their own to go over the evaluation, you guys are more than welcome to do that. Just reach out to him. So the superintendent evaluation is done on a biannual cycle, and the evaluation is done with a list of goals that Dr. Marsden and the school committee agree upon. In the off years, Dr. Marsden gives a progress update on the goals. In addition to the 6 goals that we agreed on with him, there are also 4 standards the committee evaluates Dr. Marsden on. The evaluation is done using guidelines provided by DESE. The 4 standards are, Standard 1 is instructional leadership, Standard 2 is management and operations, Standard 3 is family and community engagement, Standard 4 is professional culture. Each school committee member filled out an evaluation that was given to me in December, and what I'm reporting on right now is the summary. I'm going to read parts of the summary that was put together. So the committee overall rated Dr. Marsden's performance as either the high standard of proficient or exemplary. So 2 members gave proficient, 3 gave exemplary. One of the comments was the performance of superintendent during the 2-year cycle was the best I've seen in my tenure on the school committee. Whether it was community related, systems, financial, operational, or engagement across town or statewide committees, it felt like the schools were extremely well prepared and positioned for success. Dr. Marsden always puts the students first as the most important stakeholder that our district is beholden to, and models that behavior for all staff to emulate. For Standard 1, instructional leadership, the committee overall rated Dr. Marsden's performance proficient 4 members, exemplary 1 member. Evidence from the strategic plan highlights strides in curriculum alignment through the work of the ELA vertical teams, updating curriculum maps and establishing a formalized curriculum review process. Dr. Marsden and his leadership team used data from many sources to drive decision-making, such as MCAS scores, to make curriculum adjustments, and survey data from the Metro West Health Survey to identify actionable strategies for enhancing students' social emotional well-being and development. On Standard 2, management and operations, the committee overall rated Dr. Marsden's performance as proficient 2 members, exemplary 3 members. Dr. Marsden has been actively advancing the Dale Street project, demonstrating a commitment to meeting key milestones and ensuring clear communication with stakeholders. As an ex officio member of the new school building committee, he has attended monthly meetings, facilitated the submission of Statement of Interest, SOI, to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, and participated in update meetings with the MSBA. Additionally, he has prioritized transparency by maintaining regular communication with Medfield Public School parents and key project partners. On Standard 3, family and community engagement, the committee overall rated Dr. Marsden proficient 2 members, exemplary 3 members. Dr. Marsden and his team have prioritized communication with families and community stakeholders. A notable enhancement this year was the introduction of the central office newsletter, providing families with a single streamlined source of information relevant to students across all grade levels. Additionally, the implementation of parent-teacher conferences at both the middle and high school have fostered stronger connections between teachers and caregivers. These efforts enable greater parental involvement and awareness, ultimately supporting students by ensuring families are informed about and engaged in their child's educational needs. Finally, Standard 4, professional culture. The committee rated Dr. Marsden proficient 2, exemplary 3 members. Dr. Marsden has created a great professional culture in MPS. Serving on committees with Dr. Marsden and many in his administration, as well as many of the teachers in the district, has allowed me to see how the staff works independently as well as with Dr. Marsden. All our educators have an extreme commitment to high standards and are committed to continuous learning. All of the communication I've seen from Dr. Marsden, from a quick email to the central office newsletter, have been clear, concise, and professional. As we discuss this evaluation and reflect on Dr. Marsden's work, it's clear that he exemplifies the qualities of a great leader: vision, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to Medfield's success. But what truly sets him apart is how much he cares for the students. Every decision he makes is rooted in what's best for their growth, well-being, and future. This balance of strong leadership and genuine compassion not only inspires confidence in our path forward, but also reinforces the trust and collaboration that make Medfield a place where every student can thrive. We're very fortunate to have you here in Medfield, and I'll open it up to the committee if you guys have anything you want to add.
I do appreciate the feedback, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm fortunate to have a wonderful team here, great teachers, administrators, staff. Kids are wonderful, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we need to vote on the summary that was in our packets. So do I hear a motion to accept the summary evaluation report for Dr. Marsden for January 9th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, back to the new business and the tech collab agreement. I'll hand that off to you, Dr. Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whenever tech or any collaborative is going to add additional school districts to their membership, they have to vote at the board of directors at that level, and then every school committee within the membership has to vote to approve it. So they have to redo the whole collaborative agreement, which adds the additional districts in. Once all of the majority of school committees approve that, then that gets sent to the state, and then DESE approves it. So the reason why it starts on July 1 in a document in your materials, the reason why we need to do it now is because it does take DESE a while to go through that. Our task would be, as I'm on the board, was to get our school committees to vote before January 30th, and then submit that back to tech, and then tech submits to DESE, so that those two new members, King Philip and Sharon, can become part of the tech collaborative starting July 1.
Who's adding? Sorry.
King Philip and Sharon. Yeah. So I would ask that you approve as presented. There really isn't any change to the collaborative agreement other than the fact those two districts are added into the beginning of it. And we approved it as a board earlier in December.
And what was the driver again?
Well, I think each district has their own driver why they want to be a part of it. I think King Philip, if you are a member of the collaborative, you get a discount on tuition. And King Philip had a number of students that were in the collaborative, and it would save them financially to be a part of it. But they also wanted to bring, some professional development, be a part of that, and some of the other options that tech brings. So they definitely want to be a part of it to save money initially, but they certainly will be a good partner as part of the collaboration. Sharon reached out because their school committee said to us, it feels like everyone around us is a part of tech and can benefit from it, we can't. So we really think we need to be a part of that, which is true. Everyone around them is a part of tech. So I think it's good to grow the organization in terms of tech. I think the question they always have is how does it impact things like quorum and budget and those kinds of things, and I think the executive director did a nice job answering that for us. So it was unanimous at the board of directors to admit these two districts into the collaborative.
And is there ever, and I don't want to go too deep, but does it get to a point where it gets too big? Like when
I
you
think
guys
so.
talk about it at a board level?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. The other collaborative we belong to, Accept, there was a district that asked to come in, and we ended up not allowing them to come in because it really wasn't, they weren't sure about where they were in terms of leadership. And they originally had petitioned us to be in it. They came to the meeting, did the presentation, did their sales pitch to us, school committee and superintendent, and then that superintendent left, and they were kind of in limbo with superintendent. They hadn't done a search yet, that kind of thing. So because it's such a long process with DESE, we asked them to kind of come back in a couple of years once everything's all set, and we'll look at it again. So that does happen as well, not just a guarantee that folks come in.
And they pretty much, once they come in, they stay in. Like
They
I
do.
counted 19.
Yes, they do. And there's a financial implication to that too. So if you are, you pay an amount to be as part of the collaborative, and for instance, what was the collaborative what was the name of the collaborative, Michael, that just disbanded up in Lexington?
Edco.
What was it?
Edco?
Edco, thank you, it was Edco. Edco, they disbanded, and then once they do that, they split out the funds, and then some of the districts had to actually pay. It wasn't great. Yeah, there were no funds there. So the districts had to actually pay. So, I think both of our collaboratives that we belong to are in great shape financially, and especially Tech. Tech is in really good shape.
We should also have the funds go back to the town, not the school district.
Correct. So I'd ask you to approve as presented.
Motion to approve as submitted?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Any other items since posting on January 7th, 2025?
No, Madam Chair.
Great. Move on to old business. Dr. Marston, onto the FY26 budget update.
Sure. So we've been busy the last few weeks preparing for the public hearing, but I did want to give you an update on where we are with the numbers. So we've looked at, we've got more clarity in terms of special education, what our obligations are, and what we're looking at for next year. We've moved some positions into the revolving accounts that were in the operating budget in that initial 5.89% increase. And then we've looked at adding additional circuit breaker money that we've carried over from the previous year to offset some of that. So in the last couple of weeks, we've reduced the budget $697,822 to get it down to 4.27% increase as of today. So we're going to keep working on that and try to get more clarity, but I don't know if we're going to be able to hit the target that they want us to hit by January 30th.
What was our target again?
3.6. 3.6, Michael? 3.65. Yeah, 3.65 is the target from the town in the warrant committee. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to hit that by the public hearing, but I think the next couple of months is where we have those conversations at this level, and you guys kind of give us the direction of where you think we should be looking at. But we made a lot of ground, in the last few weeks and over Christmas break, kind of reducing some of the stuff, reducing some of these items and moving them just from regular budget, operating budget into the revolving account to get us down almost $700,000. So the gap is much, much smaller than it was before. A couple of other things. The budget book should be ready by the 16th of January, and we're doing something new this year. We're going to do a digital flip book that we'll send out to all parents and make it available to the public on the website too. So it's going to have a lot more detail, not as much detail as your budget book has, but pretty close to it. So we want to get that out. We're working on that right now, and Marissa Foley is doing a great job working with Michael and I on that too, with all the technology piece of that. We're giving her information. She's doing a nice job. Marissa's also the one that does the state of the schools for us too. So it's going to have that same kind of branding look to it on the cover so that people can recognize our work. And then it's going to be the flip book like our strategic plan is on our website. But once that's done, we're targeting the 23rd or the 27th for that to be done. We're going to get that out to all families too, so have access to that. And then the community will as well. It will be on our website. As always, we always have a hard copy of the budget book available in the business office. We're required by law to have one available to anyone in the public 48 hours before the public hearing. We always have that. So just want to get that out publicly that we have that available, and we will again. So we're working hard on that, and hopefully we'll have close to that number that the warrant committee wants when we do the public hearing and the presentation on the 30th of January. And then it becomes yours.
Okay.
All right.
Questions on the budget? No? Okay. We did superintendent evaluation, so we'll go on to a mobile phone social media task force update.
We meet next week.
On Monday.
Yeah.
So we don't have one for today?
Yeah, because we updated once at the last meeting, right?
We
only
did,
had one
yeah.
meeting, so we'll have one for next time.
Yeah, so the agenda's going out. Nat and I and Collie and I are meeting tomorrow. I did talk to Jill Walsh today. She's going to be there in person, meeting with the task force, and do a little overview of some of the same things she did the night she was here, but also kind of lead us into how we can look at things like community norms around this, and how we can make some lasting change for generations of kids, not just the ones in high school right now. So, which is, I think, what our goal is to really make some real change there for our kids. So I think that's. We had a great conversation today, and she'll lead some of that work with us on Monday.
Great. So last night, the SBC had a meeting. Leo, do you want to take us through that?
We get a lot of conversation around the Module 1 and the timeline for engaging with MSBA. There's a pretty scripted process when engaging with MSBA. So yesterday, we did a lot of review of what's in store to get us to through that first module, and the timeline around that, which we are slated to begin in April. But the board is very eager to prepare so that as soon as April comes, that we're there and ready to go.
Ready to go.
And leaning on some of the past work, a lot of conversation about, what we need to do different than the previous time as far as communication goes, and how, and then there was a lot of questioning about the Parks and Rec building. And engaging with Parks and Rec and the Board of Selectmen on options around that as we engage in this process, because there could be some synergies with those plans. There could be some use for that land if they're not going to use that land. There's all kinds of options to discuss. So, and that building would have to be, taken care of, no matter who uses it, but could also be a part of that process. So, a lot of conversations to be had. Exciting, nonetheless. I think there was a lot of excitement in the room, but definitely people trying to continue the momentum and the excitement of being allowed back into the MSBA process. So, so stay tuned as we engage in that. Did I miss anything? Or?
No, I just included in your materials too the presentation that MSBA gave us on December 18th. So there were some of us that were a part of the eligibility period orientation. So I just put the presentation in there if you want to take a look at it at some point. And it just gives you a really good overview and kind of a reference to what we need to do and what we need to accomplish in Module 1.
And then I think the next meeting is February 5th, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wednesday, February 5th, Public Safety Building, 7 o'clock, and that's, we'll be having our next meeting. Okay.
So, for like, excuse me, I'm just looking at that eligibility period. Is there, and so I'm just looking at that phase 1 and scope definition. I know we don't have the funding for some of the like feasibility study.
I guess I should have mentioned that. That was the other thing, is how much to ask for at
town meeting.
Or even how are we thinking about that? Like,
we need to ask, the feasibility has to be funded in order to begin Module 1, so that feasibility period. So we were nailing down a number to vote on. We have approximately $900 or $1 million. Thank you.
He's shy of that.
About $1 million that's already been allocated to feasibility. So the conversation's approximately another 500 to 600,000 to add to that in order to engage in feasibility, with the understanding that it may not cost that much, and obviously the remaining dollars could be put back towards the project or however the town sees fit. So. So that was the conversation. So there will be more conversation about what to ask for and a warrant developed to go on to town meeting.
And the Parks and Rec conversation and what we're doing there won't hurt or like inhibit our ability to be part of MSBA, right? Like.
So the conversation at this moment in time is so small, it's infantile, right? So we don't know what they intend to do. The Parks and Rec conversation would, at this point, I foresee it being merely about what they intend to do with the property.
Okay.
Right, yeah, because it has nothing, this SBC would have nothing to do with Park and Rec.
Exactly, and I don't
Yeah.
want, yes, I'm afraid if
Right.
the conversation gets like
Right.
lumped together
Muddied,
and that,
yes,
yes,
yeah.
I don't want to, again, sort of
Yeah.
jeopardize our chances
Mhm.
for the MSBA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the conversations merely are probably around the property at this point in time.
Right, because the town has it,
And
what
they definitely should be thinking about the future and what to do with Parks and Rec. And Wheelock was even brought up finally last night. Someone's finally thinking about that. About, that may, by the time this conclusion of this project, if it's successful, thinking about, so maybe some significant, investment into, even if it's a facelift to Wheelock, something along those lines. But anything over a certain amount of money requires a pretty significant process by law.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Community engagement and communication. I feel like we all just got back to school, but does anyone have anything in this space?
My parent guardian advisory is on Tuesday,
Okay.
so that's next Tuesday.
Okay.
unfortunately, I missed the high school one that went from the evening to the morning this
Oh.
week, so,
Right, it was 8:30, right? Yeah.
yeah, 8:30 a.m. instead of 8
Right.
o'clock p.m.
Right.
So it eliminates me.
For all of it, or just for that one meeting?
Just for that
Just
meeting.
that one meeting,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
It had been bumped out from December.
Okay. Anything else in that space?
No, the only one, have we thought at all about Medfield Talks?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep, so that, we're getting that group together this month, and we're looking at something for the spring.
Okay. And do you have any ideas?
I think one of the groups, one of the members talked about possibly looking at a more high school focused one. So they have some ideas they're going to bring to the meeting, but try to get it organically from the group. So we'll see what comes up.
Okay. Maeve, you have any updates for us?
I actually talked to my peers about the Medfield talks from last meeting, and most people, when I asked them, said probably just like advice on the college process and like when to get started and like
That's a good
different
one.
things
That is a good
you're
one.
doing at different points. That was the most like of what people could think of when I asked, and other than that, nothing.
That's a good one, Maeve, thanks.
Yeah. Anything else under informational items?
No, just in your packet, I think we put in the December central office newsletter, and I believe you have the quarterly reports for both collaboratives in there as well.
Okay. Anyone else have anything else? All right, our next meeting will be the FY26 budget public hearing on January 30th, followed by our regular meeting. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thanks, everybody. Also, there's an orchestra concert right now on the other side of the building, if anybody wants to go listen to the 4th and 5th graders. It's gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be amazing. We still start at 6 next meeting on the 30th?
Oh, that's a good
The
question.
budget and that stuff?
We advertise it for 6?
We did
Yeah, 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
and then we'll meet afterwards.
Yeah, you